Good morning, fellow Austrian economists. My name is Miguel Silva.
And I am Luís Gallardini Graça.
Today we're going to talk about economics in one lesson, the 1948 book written by Henry Hazlitt.
This book is the best book of economics you will ever read. It is simple, concise, well written, and flows smoothly. Besides this, it approaches many common economic arguments used to justify bad policies and successfully refutes them by using Hazlitt's lesson throughout the book.
This book is available to be borrowed from Nyack if you want to read it in person. It can also be downloaded for free from the Mises Institute. In chapter 1, Hazlitt states that we are already suffering the long-run consequences of the past. Today is already the tomorrow, which the bad economist urges us to ignore yesterday. These bad economists present their ideas better than good economists because they tell us half-truths. They recommend spending as a way of economic salvation and demonize saving. When people point to the long-term consequences of their policies, they snarkily reply, "In the long term, we are all dead." How crazy is this?
Hazlitt's lesson is this: the art of economics consists in looking not merely at the immediate, but at the longer effects of any act or policy. It consists in tracing the consequences of that policy not merely for one group, but for all groups. We will now apply Hazlitt's lesson to various common economic policies, which are discussed in the public realm.
In chapter 2, we are presented with the broken window fallacy. Imagine a shop's window is broken. A bad economist would probably praise this destruction. He would state that a window maker will have more work making a new window and will be able to spend the money he made on other businesses, and not so on and so forth. A broken window is not only not a bad thing, but creates wealth.
However, by using Hazlitt's lesson, we can see that these arguments are wrong. The glazier, a window maker, will indeed be better off by the broken window. But the owner of the shop will have to spend $50, which, Miguel, adjusted for inflation, is $614.46 today. On a window, when he would have liked to buy a new suit, making a tailor worse off. So now, instead of there being a window and a suit, there's only a window. In conclusion, there's a real loss of wealth when something is destroyed.
Even though the broken window fallacy is simple to refute, this is the most persistent fallacy in all of economics. In chapter 3, Hazlitt explains that many experts praise war because they say backed up or accumulated demand, for example demand for houses, will have to be satisfied, creating enormous amounts of jobs and therefore wealth.
This is another half-truth. Indeed, house builders will have more business in the short term, but what is not seen are the thousands of other goods that cease to exist because of the war, and because people spend their resources building houses. War not only causes a simple change in types of goods demanded, but it also shrinks the amount of goods that are demanded. This is because supply and demand are merely two sides of the same coin. The supply of things people make is, in fact, all people have to offer in exchange for things they want.
This fact is called Say's law. Keynesians are oblivious to this law because they focus on money and not on the underlying reality. Inflation, the mere issuance of money which will increase wages and prices, may look like the creation of more demand, but it doesn't actually change the amount of wealth that exists. Summing this chapter up, destruction, lo and behold, destroys real wealth.
Now, on to chapter 4. Here, the bad economists present government spending as a solution to all problems, such as unemployment, said to be caused by insufficient private purchasing power. This fallacy stems from the idea that we can get something from nothing. Every cent the government spends has to come from taxation, taken in the moment or in the future, if the government goes into debt. Or It can come from inflation, which is also a particularly awful form of taxation, specifically on the poorest people, because poorest people are the ones who save their money and don't invest. So they don't have a return, and the value of their money depreciates, gets lower.
Exactly. Hazlitt concerns himself with refuting the argument that public works should be considered as a means to providing employment and creating wealth for everyone. When public works are considered a means to provide employment, projects have to be invented, such as digging holes and filling them back up, which was done during the FDR's New Deal. If there were an actual urgent need for these projects, they would already have been built. This doesn't create any wealth because resources are only being diverted from some ends to the others, from private houses to public holes. You can see the holes being dug, but you don't see the houses which weren't built.
In conclusion, every penny spent to create these made-up projects has to be taken from people who would have otherwise spent it somewhere else. Every penny spent to create projects in a part of the country, making it wealthier than before, but not as much as it could have been without government spending, is a penny less that would make the place where it is taken from richer.